All right, we are week 4, Math 208, section 4.4, solve applications. So it says a business manufactures at least 6 MP3 players for each digital video player. So if they did one video player, they did at least 6 MP3s. If they did 2 video players, then they did at least 12 MP3 players. If they did 3 digital video players, then they did at least 18 MP3 players. So whatever the number of video players, you're going to times it by 3, and that tells you how many MP3 players you have. So what does that mean? That means your MP3 players is going to be greater than or equal to 6 times your video players. And that's what I mean. When you had like 2 video players, you timesed it by 6, and that told you how many MP3 players. So when you have 2 video players, you times it by 6, and that tells you how many MP3 players you have. So that's the first inequality that we have. Now we're going to keep reading, and it says the total number of MP3 players and digital video players must be less than 40. So that means your M's plus your V's has to be less than 40. So your M's plus your V's has to be less than 40. All right? So there's our 2 inequalities. All right? And so what I'm going to do is let's shrink those down. Let's get that shrunken down. Let's get this guy shrunken down. Let's get this guy over here shrunken down. All right. So there's our inequalities. All right. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to solve for those inequalities. So we're going to graph these 2 guys on a graph. Now, but here's the thing. You'll notice they want us to use M and V instead of X and Y. So the V takes the place of the X's. The M's take the place of the Y's. So if you were going to use Desmos, you would have to think of the M's as Y's, and then the V's as X's. So this is what you would actually type into Desmos, not the M's and the V's, because that Desmos won't work for you there. So again, over here, the other equation or inequality that you're going to have to graph is M plus V is less than 40, but M you're going to replace with the Y, plus V you're going to replace with the X. And so these are your 2 inequalities that you're going to graph into Desmos. Now when you do that, you get this grid right here. And I'm going to zoom in. Now the idea is, which one are you going to choose? And I want to make that get in front. There we go. All right, so which one are we going to choose? Because the thing I want you to notice is B and D look very similar. B and D look very similar. So let me get this, and I'm going to zoom so that you can compare B with my grid. Now you'll notice my grid and B almost perfectly match, don't they? Because I carefully made my ranges. This is -5 to 50, and my graph goes from -5 to 50, and this is -5 to 50. So I changed my range with that little wrench thing to make a match, right? So you'll say, hey, that's perfect. The answer must be B, but it's not. And I'm going to explain why. The answer is actually D in this case. Now, why is the answer D? Well, the answer is D because you're not allowed to sell negative video players or negative MP3 players. So our answer isn't going to include the negative stuff. So our answer is really only going to include this portion of the wedge that is on the positive side of the graph. And so that's why the answer is D. That's kind of tricky. Now, what makes this problem tricky is that you don't actually need Desmos at all. It's actually pretty straightforward. It says the shaded region shows your recommended weight and height combination. So the W is your weight, and then H right here is your height. And you've got these two graphs, these two lines right here. And this thing over here means you're high, you're tall, but you're underweight because you're down here in the low weight section. Over here means you're too heavy for your height. And this shaded area means you are the perfect height-weight combination, right? Now they want us to figure out what is the weight range for a person who is 76 inches tall. So what does that mean we're going to do? Well, it means we're going to zoom in and we're going to say, oh, look at that. For a person who is 76 inches tall, this is their minimum weight, and this is their maximum weight. So this area is the preferred weight for a person that tall. So this area. So this person's underweight, and then somebody way over here is going to be overweight, and it's this section right here that is what we want. So what is that weight? Well, if this is the height, H stands for the height, you go down and you say, it's something a little bit, I'm going to draw a blue line going straight down. And I don't know, it looks like it's a little above 150 as your minimum weight. And then if you go down here, I don't know, 210-ish. So that's around 210. I don't know what the heck that is. Maybe 154, I guess. I don't know. But my math lab wants you to put in a specific weight. You're not allowed to estimate. In real life, we would estimate. And we'd go down and we'd say, a little bit above 150. Over here, a little bit above 200. Okay? But my math lab wants us to give a specific value. So what we're going to do is we know that this line right here is the 25H. 25H minus 7W equals 800. 800. Now, where the heck did they come up with this? I don't know. Scientists came up with it. And so we know that H stands for 76. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace H with 76. So you get 25 times 76 minus 7W equals 800. Now you're going to have to bust out your calculator because there's no way you're going to know 25 times 76 off the top of your head. So I'm going to grab my calculator and I'm going to type in 25 times 76 and I get 1,900 minus 7W equals 800. And so now that I'm going to subtract both sides by 1,900. And the left side goes away, so you end up with negative 7W is equal to, and then I'm going to subtract 800 minus 1,900, and I get a negative 1,100. So now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7, and I get weight is equal to, because the negative 7's cancel, and I'm going to divide 1,100 divided by 7, and that gives me this ugly decimal, 157.14285. 1.57. And so what I thought was about 154, it's really 157. Dang, I was actually, come on, I was actually pretty close. So this was really 157. All right. Now we're going to do the same idea, only this time we're going to use H as 76, but we're going to do it inside for this line, which is 5H minus W is equal to 170. So let's do that over here. So 5H minus W is equal to 170. We know that H is 76 because that's what the problem says so. And I'm going to begin by multiplying 5 times 76, and I get 380 minus W is equal to 170. And now I'm going to subtract 380 from both sides. And 170 minus 380 gives me negative 210. So I get negative W is equal to negative 210. And so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1, and the negatives go away, so that leaves me with W is equal to 210. So that means, hey, wow, I rock. That means when the height is 76, your maximum weight is 210. That's so cool. All right, 210. And so that is your minimum and maximum weight, for a person that is 76 inches tall. The minimum weight is 157, and the maximum weight is 210.